Hello everybody, thank you for watching The Royal We. Today we have a special guest on our Instagram interview. We're talking to Carly RN, also known as the Rebellious Nurse. And I'm going to go ahead and add her on right now. Let me look her up so that we can get talking with this rebellious nurse, find out all of this good information that she has to share with us about healing from narcissistic abuse. She's an ancient wisdom enthusiast. Let me go ahead and pull her up right now. And then we will get started. If I can find her here. Why am I not able to pull her up? What is her handle, right? That should be her. Am I not finding the right one here? Let me see. Uh-oh. I'm not. Hopefully it'll pop on here in a moment, and we'll get to see you. There you are. Hi, Carly.
Hi.
You can hear me okay? All right. Thank you, Carly, so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to introduce my audience to you. I have heard very good things about you. Hannah, in particular, is a huge fan, and she indicated that you provide a lot of healing. And so I'm really anxious to talk with you about, first of all, what Rebellious RN, what RN stands for. So are you an RN, or is the RN stand for Rebellious Nurse?
The RN stands for Rebellious Nurse, and it just so happens, and I love plays on words, that I am a registered professional nurse in the state of New York. So I've always been rebellious, and there were a couple times right before 2020, which is when my life started to really get shaken up, that I got that message, like, rebellious nurse, you know. So I think it fits me perfectly. But yeah,
When we talk about ancient wisdom enthusiast, share a little bit about, let's share a little bit about that and what role this plays in what you do for people.
So I'm just going to put it out there and say I'm still figuring out exactly what I do, you know, and melding it all together. But basically, I have been a registered nurse since 2014. I worked in the hospital for 2.5 years. I worked in the community, going to houses for about 4.5 years. And I had my own issues. I have an injury. I'm a veteran. I have an injury from the military, and I had all these other things happening. So in the midst of going through my own things and trying to have the health system address them and not helping me, I'm watching all these other people kind of age and not have vitality. And so I ended up I was getting into yoga, and I came across this herbalist class. I didn't know what an herbalist was. I grew up in the woods. I literally, like, the woods were my playground when I was younger. And so that was in upstate New York, and I live on Long Island. I went to nursing school on Long Island. It's very residential here, very different. So, and you know, it's right by New York City. So anyway, I'm like trying to help myself with all this stuff, and I see this herbalism class, and I'm like, what's herbalism? And I go, and you can literally use plants to heal. Like, you can take your weeds from the backyard and make them into medicine so easily. And oh my gosh.
Wow.
So that's one of the ancient things that I use is plants. And I guess, like, shamanism, I really love shamanism. I've learned about it. I've gone on shamanic journeys, and that is basically, I've also realized that I love altered states of consciousness and working in altered states of consciousness. And so when you go on shamanic journeys, you go into an altered state. Plant medicine, not only is it weeds, but ayahuasca, mushrooms, things like that people have been using forever.
Psychedelic type stuff?
Psychedelic stuff, yeah. Ayurveda is an Indian healthcare system. It's like the oldest healthcare system. I've tapped into some of that for my healing. You know, there's just so many different things that have been in place for so long that for me, I was just indoctrinated by the healthcare system. I thought that's all there was. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I went to school, I was told this is what medicine is, and I did it. And I was so naive, and I just took everything so to heart, you know? And I truly just believed that's what it was. And, you know, so just not finding my own healing, I like found all these other things that have been here for so much longer, and they actually work. So I'm sure there's more that I didn't tap into, but that's a lot of the stuff that I use.
Now, most of the people who follow me, and I'm sure, and I'm not sure if it's true with you as well, because you're talking about physical injuries and physical healing and stuff like that. But most of the people who follow the Royal We, and I'm sure you've dealt with this too, are dealing with a lot of emotional healing, emotional trauma, right? So we're talking about narcissistic abuse, dealing with people either in families or intimate relationships that you walk away from going, what in the world did I just experience? Right? What was that? Right? What really is going on with my parents? Who are they? Who am I? And why is this hurtful? Why is this painful? So how does this play, the ancient wisdom enthusiast, how does the psychedelics even that you're talking about, or your method of working with people, what's behind that? And maybe it might help also, perhaps if you share a little bit about your story, if you've shared that in common with people, if you've had this type of a trauma, not just a physical, but this a mental, emotional, traumatic experience that kind of had awakened you to go on this path.
I can't really speak to narcissism. I think that people in my family are narcissists. I'm not really sure. What I have discovered, and I discovered when I was 39 years old, after having a very treacherous path in mental and emotional health and regulation and getting all kinds of labels slapped on me when I was young, is that I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I saw a therapist for 6 years. You know, it's not even in the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual which is like the book for psychiatry, complex CPTSD. So it has I found out about it, literally every single line item. I'm like, that's me, that's me, that's me. Oh my gosh, there's really nothing wrong with me, like I thought my entire life, you know? So I have used some of the things that I said, that I just talked about, ancient wisdom, but those I've used mostly for my own self. I don't really use them for the people that come to me for help. What I use for them is breath work. I really believe in getting into the body. That's how I ended up kind of cracking myself out of this. I have lived with so much toxic shame. It was like encasing me. My trauma was encasing me. And what I didn't even know about emotional trauma. You know, I started to learn about that. And I just like the level of rage I've had to just process through because I thought everything was a certain way. And then I find out it's not, and the ego death and all the things, you know? So emotions are definitely my jam. I have had a lot of emotional issues. I've had, you know, the liver issues, which is what causes us to have the period bullshit that they name PMDD or whatever, our mood disorders when we have periods, us women, you know.
Wait, what did you say that is? What did you call it? Liver?
Freaking liver is what it is.
It's liver?
It's liver related, yes.
No way. So heal the liver and you heal a lot of those issues.
Heal the liver and you heal your hormonal issues, yeah. And so multidimensional health is everything. It's hitting it from the emotions, from the energetics. Like I have thyroid issues and I'm working with speaking my truth. I got an opportunity to have an interview. Oh, I'm going to look at that as thyroid healing for myself in addition to everything else. But I know I'm jumping ahead.
I love that. No, that's fine. We'll get there. But I love that you're already on this path of, okay, thyroid, liver, these things can affect a person's emotional state. And so you fix that, but you don't fix it with the traditional medicine and doctors and whatever, and medication and whatever the hell they're going to give you that might make it worse, right? But we'll get there for sure, because I'm so fascinated to hear more about that. Well, why don't actually, there was something else that you had said that I wanted to touch on as far as the emotional healing, and I can't remember because I got thrown off by
Complex post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and seeing counselors and therapists. And I'm glad that you brought that up because you were in that. And I was been thinking about this, and I'm actually getting ready to release a video on this myself. But I don't know about how your experience was, but it seems to me that when people go to therapists or counselors or doctors, what typically happens is they get put under the microscope and get diagnosed instead of the whole situation getting put under the microscope and diagnosed. You know what I mean? So somebody goes
Absolutely.
to a counselor, a therapist, and psychologist, and they're looking at that person trying to figure out what's your problem, as opposed to looking at the whole situation and saying, wait a minute, your dad has called you what all your life? Your mom has called you a no good all your life? Okay, well, that's the problem, and you've got to get away from these people. Instead, they look and diagnose this person, which seems like they're punishing the individual who needs help. Is that your experience too, in some ways?
What I personally experienced, I had an amazing therapist. She didn't believe in medications. I, for some reason, even being an RN, I really was, I wasn't into taking medication. So my therapist worked with me for 6 years, and I felt like I uncovered so much with her. You know what I mean? But after spending that time going as far as I could, I would still hit this hopelessness. These, like, every 6 months or so, I would bottom out into just pure hopelessness. Side effect of complex PTSD, by the way. So I'm like seeing this therapist, and it's like, yeah, okay. And this is what happened in my childhood. But what I realize now, after getting into the somatic part of it, the body aspect of healing, is that our bodies have a memory. We're like a hard drive.
Body keeps the score, right?
The body keeps the score. Our tissues hold our issues. And what happens is when we get all up here, which is what happens in therapy, we're in our story. This is what happened. This is what happened. That's our trauma. We just spin in our trauma over and over and over because there's no aspect of us going and putting our body into safety and grounding our body while we talk about this stuff. You know
Bingo.
what I mean?
So you go to the counselor, you go see the psychologist, and they diagnose you and they plan out why you're not coping, but send you right back to the battlefield and the war zone that you've been living in. And this is why people never heal, and instead they prescribe medications and send you back to the war zone, never addressing the issue, and then people end up dying because of whatever.
The medications numb you out. So you
can't
even feel your freaking feelings. And the way that you get rid of this shit a lot of times is feeling it, you know?
Right. Wow. So let's talk, go back to what, and I'm truly fascinated by this, but what's your understanding about, obviously you know a lot about how the body keeps the score. So what's your understanding about how trauma, even from childhood, how it starts to impact your tissues and your organs, and what are some of the things that people need to start to know about that?
I am a mother of 5 months today. Oh.
Well, happy birthday.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, thank you. It was spinning it was refreshing for me for a second. So I actually just came into the depths of my trauma, of course, while I was pregnant in December, because I know this is the whole part of it. What I learned personally is that we can start having trauma as an infant. I really believe my parents did the cry it out method.
So did mine.
The solar plexus stuff.
Yeah.
That I have gone through and felt in my body, like I can't even talk. I've never even talked about this publicly, but I went through months where my solar plexus would throb randomly. I had an ayahuasca journey where it was all about my solar plexus. Would
you do me a favor, Carly? Would you share with us real quick what solar plexus is for those of us who don't know?
Sure. It's like, let me see if I can. It's kind of like right here where your diaphragm is. And it's our power center energetically on the chakra system. It's our power center, our willpower, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our fire. And on a developmental level, what I actually learned is that when we are infants and our emotions aren't tended to, which this society is so emotionally deficient, it's ridiculous. It's a wonder that any of us are even freaking walking, like functioning human beings. But as a baby, all we can do is tense. Our body will automatically tense itself, and it will start tensing the diaphragm first. Ooh. So that I actually learned through like months of working with all these different things. So I do know that is a thing that in infants, your diaphragm will start to tighten. But regarding developmental trauma, like basically what I understand is that we're all working with what's called the limbic part of our brain. It's kind of like our animal part of our brain. That's what we have when we're born. We have very underdeveloped nervous systems. Probably, I think humans are the most underdeveloped of all mammals or something like that. So babies can't self-regulate. So anyway, we have these underdeveloped nervous systems, and it's our limbic brain that is getting developed at that time, our emotional center. A baby cries because it's uncomfortable. All it knows is it's uncomfortable, I'm crying. That's it. Then if that isn't taken care of, if your emotions aren't taken care of at that state, you fragment.
Meaning if you're not comforted, if you're not soothed from outside. So babies require soothing from outside as opposed to being able to have it from inside. And if you don't get it from outside, then you never quite learn how to do it from the inside. Is that kind of what takes place?
I think so. I know for 100% fact that babies cannot self-soothe. Yeah. They need a co-regulation of another nervous system. That's where the mother and the father come in. But yeah, it's like it's all energy, and the nervous system is, has to do with energy too. So if the baby's just crying and crying and crying and there's nobody there, their subconscious is still there. They're getting the message that, they're not taken care of, and parts of their brain, the limbic parts of their brain, the emotional parts don't get developed. So then as they age, the other, like the more, like the cortex and our logical parts of our brain start building on top of a fractured foundation that we, so it's like, that's why we get to be adults and we have emotional dysregulation issues. And it's like, we have to go so fucking deep to get in there because now our mind is just like running the show,
And what's interesting about what you're saying is this could work on behalf of narcissistic people in addition to empaths, right? So this might, or whatever they classify the differences as. So this could be a common thing, this dysregulation. So it's very fascinating. And so getting back into how this also can later in life start to create problems for, do you think it's a mental, emotional thing that creates problems for things like the liver, as we were talking about before, or would you compartmentalize these things and say they're different issues?
I think,
in other words, do you believe that our internal organs, is there a lot of mental, because there's a lot of people out there that say that the traumatic relationships, and I've experienced this too, traumatic relationships, abusive relationships start to manifest certain things like autoimmune. It's weird. I had a conversation with a client earlier today who has an autoimmune disorder. When I was younger, the only autoimmune disorder that people talked about was AIDS. But as of this day, there's all different kinds of autoimmune diseases now. Yep. And nobody really knows what from or where from. And some people that I talk with believe it's because of abuse, different manifestations of things and rashes and POTS syndrome, gout, inflammation. So would you clump all these things together as possible results of trauma?
Okay. I think yes. Gabor Mate is a beautiful person to follow about autoimmune and cancer in relation to trauma. So Gabor Mate,
Gabor Mate.
Um,
Okay.
what So another modality that I have under my belt, which influences how I'm going to answer this,
Okay.
is called myofascial release. I learned from a gentleman named John Barnes. I took 3 seminars, and like, I'm integrated. It has to do with everything. So he basically teaches about what's called the fascial system. Never learned about it in nursing school, by the way. It's like it doesn't even exist, okay? The fascial system is like when we see meat and it's that white striated stuff. That's fascia, but that's dead fascia. So they were studying dead fascia for a very long time, and they said that fascia had no benefits to the body whatsoever. So now they can see live fascia. The fascia is everything. Our cells are made of it. Our muscles are made of it. Every single thing. So because I know that, I believe that every single thing, every thought, every feeling, every emotion, everything in our body is connected. And what I think happens, and what I've heard of, is something called like a barrel effect, where the level just keeps rising. It keeps rising, and then it just overflows. And that's what I've heard autoimmune referred to as. I actually believe I think I have an autoimmune. I think I had an autoimmune disorder that never got diagnosed, that I healed. And now, because of pregnancy and birth, I think I have another one. I think it's just a lot of the toxins that were just literally, I'm trying to keep my baby toxin free. How the hell do I do that? It's not, like, I just like thrown in the towel. Like, there's nothing I can do, I mean, there is, but it's like, I'd be a basket case if I tried to.
I listen, as a father, I appreciate that, because yes, you can go crazy. I did everything from, we're not eating that, we're not eating that, we're not buying that, we're not buying that. We're just, whatever we can grow in our yard is what we're going to eat, right? So yeah, I agree. You can go crazy, but to some extent, it's good to be able to have a real careful lie. I mean, not to the point where you're driving yourself crazy, but yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the toxins that we eat, breathe. I think it's our emotions. I think it's called the compartment theory, that I have heard about, but I had this visualization once, and how I kind of view trauma and the body, emotional trauma, is that we're completely open. Our fascia is like completely unblocked, completely uncalcified. We're just a light being. It is believed that fascia is how we communicate through light in our body. Like, we literally, when people say we're light beings, like, we apparently really are. There's people who believe we really are light beings, and our messages travel through our fascia at the speed of light. So what I believe is, we're born completely open, lit beings. And as we develop, and our emotions, which is the energetic aspect of us, we are energetic beings with this, this fascia. And then these emotions are just supposed to flow through. But we have this society who's like, no, trap it. So basically, we start getting all clogged with these emotions, so it's not just the toxins we're ingesting. It's the emotion, it's the emotional toxicity that we grew up around. And the fact that most of us, especially people who had narcissistic parents, never even had a chance to find out who they were or anything about themselves.
Bingo.
So it's like,
what you're saying,
so
and
I
this
think
is
everything builds up, basically, and it overflows like a barrel.
I appreciate that so much. It's almost what you're saying is, we need to not so much look at the abuse coming from the outside, as horrible as it is, because it is bad, but instead look at our illnesses, our ailments, if you will, as more of a result, not from abuse coming outside, but more of what we're not able to release from the inside.
Yes.
Because we're keeping it all in.
And
right?
It becomes like a cycle. It becomes our own little cycle of suffering. And then, like, the way that we're taught to gaslight others, we do it to ourselves. It's the way that There's so much. The way that
I
this
appreciate you
world,
being here. I love it.
thank you so much.
Everybody, make sure you hop on to Rebellious Nurse and start following this girl, okay?
Thank you, everyone. It's so good to be with you guys today. The way this world is, crap, I lost my train of thought.
We're talking about how things get trapped inside. We're conditioned to keep it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way I feel that they make the media and all this bullshit, all these agendas that are above us, just shooting us information, they're so smart because they got it where they program us with this shit, and then it just cycles in our subconscious for the rest of our life unless we do something about it, unless we wake up and do something about it. And it literally, it's just self-stifling. And then it goes and it manifests into how we affect others too, you know? So it's just,
Now, one more question on just this topic. Then I want to ask you about what somatic healing and multidimensional health is, so that people, when they are wanting to work with you or they want to contact you, they'll have a basic understanding of what that is. But would you say then that when it comes to being able to heal and get these things out from the inside, if that's really what, like a pressure cooker, it's keeping us sick, is what we're storing inside, would you say it's as simple as learning how to just open your mouth and speak your emotions freely? Or is that not necessarily the answer? Is there more to it than that? I mean, obviously we can't be a world of people running around saying the first thing that comes to their mind, because that's what abusive people do for the most part. So what are some of the steps that are helpful in helping people to start to become, because I hear it all the time. Hey, Kevin, I want to be able to, how do you be able to speak again? How do you be able to use your voice, especially after toxic relationships, because you feel so clammed up because you weren't allowed to say, or you were embarrassed for speaking your mind, right?
Mm-hmm. I think there's so much to this. I think that it's different for every person, which is one of the things that our healthcare system doesn't take into account, is that we are literally, every single one of us is our own YO universe. We are all separate. You can't just have a thing. So I think this has to, it's different for everyone. I'm just going to speak personally. Fighting out of the shame that I have, again, this whole week, all the stories coming up. I don't know if it's the full moon or whatever. Like, I've come so far, but the shit will still come up. And the only thing that's different now is that I've learned how to reparent myself better. I've learned that the things that my mind is playing are not me. They are learned programs that I'm breaking out of, and I don't need to listen to them anymore because they're lies. So there's that, there's being able to care for your body, being able to listen to your body. My relationship with my body is the most dynamic relationship that I've ever had. I had pain for 10 years. I healed it for 2-something years, and now my pain's back. And I'm like, I'm not even freaking out because I'm like, I've been training for this. Like, challenge accepted. I got this. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's the connection with your body. It's the being able to have space to process all these emotions, someone else to witness you. That's really helped me a lot. It's releasing the emotions. It's then realizing how to healthily move through. Like, I've been having a ton of anger this week, like rage. Like, I'm not just like, oh, that pisses me off. Like, full body, like, rage. You know what I mean? So, like, how am I processing through that instead of acting it out and vomiting it all over everybody, which I'm not,
I'm glad you brought that up. Because what you're saying really teaches us how ill-informed we are about how to use our anger. Because when most people come out of abusive relationships, and we all have anger as a result of that, the typical thing to think of is, well, how do I take my anger out back on them or back into the situation? But that's not processing it at all. There's a lot healthier ways, so I appreciate you saying that. Real quick, tell us a little bit about what somatic healing and multidimensional health means.
Sure.
Which is what you do. This is what you offer people for the most part, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would say. So somatic healing, any soma is other related to the body. So somatic is just kind of has an extension to that. It just means it's working with the body.
Uh-huh.
There's so many ways that, somatic healing can look. The main ones that I work with are breath work.
Okay.
I'm a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator. So breath work is really, really powerful because our breath is able to move this trapped energy that we develop as a result of emotional trauma. And it's that much more beautiful because after 7 or 8 minutes of breathing, our pH in our blood actually changes, and it allows our ego, our very strong negative mind that's, eating us alive, to kind of like take a back seat, so that the emotions that we're so afraid to deal with, and that we are just running from our entire lives, can come up, and we don't have the judgment, and it comes up in our body. And it's, breath work is a beautiful way to do that. And then also myofascial release. Breath work, I offer online sessions. Myofascial release is an in-person technique. I feel like I would be able to work with people online. I just haven't figured out how to do that yet.
I think you should. Where are you located again?
I'm on Long Island in New York State.
New York. Yeah, well, listen, that does nothing for us out here in the Midwest or in California or any of the other epicenters of trauma, right? So, well, that's great to know that you do that. Multidimensional health, it's the same thing, what you're referring to? Or is
multidimensional health?
Yeah.
I made that up. I'm sure it's called something. I don't know the definition. What it means to me is that I'm taking, because I told you the fascia, every single thing is combined. Medicine breaks it up. You're going to see a GI doctor. You're going to see a urinary doctor, an infectious disease doctor. It's bullshit. We need to have, it's all one connection. So in my healing, I'm hitting up, my emotions. I'm working with my energetics. I'm working with my diet. I'm working with my physical health, the myofascial release, the body work. I'm sure there's more, but basically it's all the different ways that I feel that things are connected. And let me give you this, for instance. I think my thyroid's jacked right now. So I'm doing all the things I said. I'm speaking every time I'm literally getting things to speak up for myself. And additionally, something I've learned, and I haven't done this yet, and this is also ties in with ancient healing, there's something called vaginal steaming. The steam goes up into your uterus and through your cervix. And apparently the cervix and the throat, apparently the vocal cords and the cervix look almost identical. And so the things that happen down there are going to, affect here. So I've actually thought I should start doing the steaming and see.
So this is for women to sit on a steam pot and steam just.
Yeah.
I don't want to let my mind drift too far on this one. I'm going to trust you on it. Women, pay attention to her. She knows what she's talking. Can guys do? Never mind.
I'm sure you guys can figure something else.
Something else out. We need a guy version of you. Hopefully, you'll help arrange that. I appreciate everything that you've had to say so far, and I hope that people really, especially a lot of my followers. And what's interesting is a lot of my followers they're predominantly women, for one reason, and any help that they can gain that obviously I can't give them, and you could. So I encourage them to follow you to get that help. And I see that you do have, through your link tree on Instagram, you have the ability for them to message you. You have soul support sessions, which I imagine is just that trauma-related sessions. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I would say it's really multidimensional. It's,
okay.
Whatever you feel like you want to work with, anything is game. Anything you want to talk about, from energetics to body to diet to this, it's I'm here for you no matter what.
Awesome.
And I love to work with men. I haven't worked with men yet. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I've
Okay.
always had like guy friends, like guys. So just, I'm not here only for the
What's
ladies,
up with
just
that?
so you know.
What's up with that steam treatment?
That's one of the only things I can't recommend to a man, but everything else goes, we're
Well,
all built very
I've
similarly.
I've received a lot just in this short interview, and so I can imagine that what you offer is very beneficial. Breath work is also on your link tree as well, and then also they can follow you. You have a YouTube channel. Do you share a lot of your work on your YouTube?
What I've kind of been doing just as a little bit of an experiment, is I initially was going to show up for 365 days. I called it 365 days in my rebellious reality. I hit up my Facebook business and YouTube to branch out onto different platforms. So there's so many like rando videos of me just being me on there in every form that I exist in. So that's mostly what I'm sharing on YouTube. It's kind of
Okay.
personal stuff right now. And then there are some videos. Most of my businessy kind of things are on Instagram. I've really taken a back seat in my online business since my baby was born.
Yeah.
But, I changed my hours to night hours. So I have night hours for breath work or soul support sessions, which are both online via Zoom. And then I have a whole other services page that you would just have to reach out to me if you're interested in one-to-one coaching, like a health consult, like a multidimensional health consult, things that I can't really put up and have you hit a buy button. You got to
Right.
reach out to me for that kind of stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If you don't mind, I've got a couple of questions. And if
Sure.
there's been people who've been watching this for quite a while. If you have some questions for Carly, also known as Rebellious Nurse, now would be the time. I'm going to see what these questions are here. It's the same person. It's somebody asks, Sprinkle Boki is the name. I feel like I've been controlling. Is that normal? If I'm not in control, I get lost.
Mm.
How
Okay.
would you answer that?
So what I would say is, I don't believe in the word normal. I think everything we've been made to think is normal is bullshit. So I just want to throw that out there. What that felt like to me is this whole game of energetics that I've kind of come into, the masculine energetics versus the feminine energetics. I would say you feeling that you want to control things, it means that you're very much in your masculine energy, which is how we were all taught how to be. It's in our mind. It's logical. It's trying to control everything. I think what would be beneficial to you would be to allow more feminine energetics in to balance that out. And then also do the mindset work of like, why do you feel, what is the safety that you're getting from control? That's the root of it. Like, you're unsafe if you're not controlling something. So I would just ask yourself, and try to break that down, like why you feel that way. And then also just bring some feminine energetics in, play, flow, relaxation, and try and balance yourself out a little bit.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you. It looks like we'll take one more question here, or if you don't mind. I don't want to take up too much of your time here. Shelly asks, do you know how I could release the fascial problem in my hips?
I might. I would have to speak more.
That'd be a
with you on
one-on-one
that.
type of thing? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that'd be a one-on-one type of thing. So Rebel Shell, I encourage you to follow her and message her through her link tree, and
Yes,
she'll
we both
probably help
have
you out with that.
Yeah, we're both rebels. So definitely come follow me. And I also want to say, I believe also in like complete empowerment. Like, I'm not here for someone to keep coming back to me either. Like, I want to help people, empower people about their health. I believe we create our health. So what I want to also offer to you, if you wanted me to help you, it would have to be an individual thing. I would sit with yourself, take some deep breaths in a very relaxing place, try to calm your nervous system, and see if you can ask your hips, what are you holding on to? See if you can get an answer that way. see if you can just follow your pain, you know, palpate your hips. Where is it painful? Just connect to your body, feel into the pain. And yeah, just see what comes from that.
Thank you. Thank you, Carly. Carly, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, taking time out of your holiday. It was so amazing to speak to you. I could go on and on and on with my own questions for you. But I will also most likely just message you in private when the time comes. But thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the community appreciates that as well. Thank you very, 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 very much.
I appreciate you.
Have a great rest of your day and a rest of your week. And everybody, get over there, follow Rebellious Nurse. And I think it's Rebellious Nurse or Carly RN. Which one is the Instagram? It's Rebellious Nurse if they want to follow you, right?
The handle is Rebellious Nurse.
Rebellious Nurse.
I have my name in there because I didn't want people to not know my name. So my name's Carly.
All right. Thank you, Carly, so much. So good talking with you.
All right.
Have a great day.
Have a good one.
Bye.